Hey player, what is your name and what did you do today?
Back again, Rennick, and I just took first place at locals with. Technically, we split top two, but I have more points, so I'm calling it first place. I was undefeated with Vanquish Soul.
Okay, a brand new deck that just came out. They post ban list, so whenever you're ready, boss.
Already started off with the monsters. We played three copies of Raisin. This is the Stratos for the deck. On normal or special, it can add any non-warrior Vanquish Soul, so anything except itself right now. They all have a secondary effect, which is a quick effect on every single one of them. By revealing different attributes, you get to do different things. This one, if you reveal a fire, he's indestructible by card effect, and if you reveal a fire and dark, he pops all other monsters in the column. But you can only use one effect at a time, or one effect per turn. But you can use the search and the pop in the same turn. You just can't protect it and pop in the same turn. Dr. Madlove. This one adds the spell or trap on summon, and then by revealing a dark, you can make one of your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. And by revealing a dark and an earth, you can bounce the monster with the lowest defense on the field back to the hand. So this comes up with a couple cards that you'll see later in the list. By bouncing them back to the hand, you get extra uses out of some things. One Pantera. I was originally going to play it at 2, but I figured 1 was fine. It's there so you can have a searchable earth. It's also you're out to back row without having to reveal 3 for one of the bigger guys coming up. So this one, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can just special it. It is an activated effect. But the revealing effect, you reveal an earth, it can't be killed by battle this turn. If you reveal an earth and a fire, you can destroy all other spell and traps in the column. One Pluto, this one is just so, you very rarely summon it, it's just so you can search a fire off of Raisin because he can't search himself. But if you reveal a fire, he gains 3,000 defense, and if you reveal a dark and an earth, he gains 3,000 attack. And during your opponent's turn, he can special himself during the main phase if you control no monsters or only Vanquished Souls. The big ones, 2 Borger and 2 Caesar. Borger is a Heat Soul. You reveal a dark to draw 1. If you reveal an earth and a fire, you can burn your opponent for 1,500. They both have the same first effect where you can target a Vanquished Soul you control as a quick effect during the main phase, bounce it back to the hand in order to summon them. This one's reveal effects. If you reveal an earth, it's unaffected by all other activated effects. Yeah, all other activated effects from your opponent. If you reveal an earth, dark, and a fire, you can non-targeting pop a card on the field. Hand traps, 3 copies of Ash, 3 Droll, and 3 Nibiru. So what I was saying with the Dr. Madlove, she bounces the thing with the lowest defense, and Nibiru only has 600 defense. So after nibbing someone on the crackback, you can use Madlove to add Nibiru back to your hand. And it didn't come up today, it almost did, but I ended up top decking the second Nibiru, so I didn't have to. And here's another card you can bounce back to your hand, 2 copies of Dogran. It's a fire, which comes up with a spell in the deck, but it also has the lowest defense out of any kaiju. So you can bounce this off of Dr. Madlove to kaiju your opponent a second time. For spells, we have 3 copies of Stake Your Soul. This is A Hero Lives. By revealing an attribute of any type of monster in your hand, you summon a Vanquish Soul from your deck with a matching attribute but a different name. So if you reveal a Raisin, you can't summon a Raisin, but if you reveal any fire, you could summon a Raisin. It is a hard once per turn, but this is why we play a bunch of the hand traps with those attributes. I was playing 2 copies of Dust Devil and 1 copy of Continue. Continue is the Monster Reborn, or it can add it back to your hand as a quick play. You have to pay 500 to activate it. Whereas Dust Devil is a Book of Eclipse or Book of Moon, whichever one you prefer. You target a Vanquished Soul you control, switch its battle position, and then book monsters your opponent controls up to the amount of Vanquished Souls you control with different names. They're both hard ones, but these are just your search targets off of Madlove, so you only have 3. You don't really want to hard draw them. For consistency, 3 Prosperity, 1 Rhoda, and 1 Small World. I had just one spot left, and I wanted another copy of Ryzen, but I didn't have a Durandal, so I just figured the Small World worked. Plus, it can get you to Kaijus, it could get you to a hand trap if you want to, and all of the Vanquish Souls line up for Small World. So you can reveal any Vanquish Soul, grab any other Vanquish Soul, and then grab any other Vanquish Soul. They all line up perfectly for this card. It seems like the deck was made to play it, but I still only play it at one. Traps, 3 copies of Imperm, the newly bought Altis, and 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. I only resolved this twice today. Both games it did win me, but it's not needed to win, but it's definitely a very good card. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of the Link 1. This is the heart and soul of the deck. It takes any Vanquish Soul to make it. It cannot be used as Link material, but you know, it's a Link 1 that points down. You couldn't ask for anything better. During the main phase, it's a quick effect. You can either add a Vanquish Soul from your grave to your hand, or special a Vanquish Soul from your hand. So you can add on your turn and then special on your opponent's turn, or vice versa. It's very, very flexible with what you want to do. Just now we have just some generic stuff: the Nightmares, Phoenix, Cerberus, and Griffin. Just spot removal, 1 Axis Code, and 1 Goddess, because this deck doesn't have an out to towers. So if you do run into one, Goddess is there to get rid of it. It's not the easiest thing to make, but it's not impossible. For Exceeds, right now we have Baguska, Exiton, Merrymaker, and Sargass. For Zeus, we also do side deck 1 Regulus. And then we also have Shakanine and Borbo. These are also for Zeus. You make this one. I prefer to make this one to deal damage. That way my Zeus threatens lethal within the next 2 turns. But the Shakanine and Borbo is if you can't. If Sargass isn't big enough and you have to make a Zeus, you can attack directly. That way you don't end up crashing your Sargass. So that way you can make a Zeus through a big monster. And then of course the 1 Zeus. In the extra though, I do want to put in a Tornado Dragon, probably in place of one of these over here. And I kind of want to fit in a 2nd Zeus as well.
What would you take out for the Tornado Dragon?
I feel like I'd probably take out the Exiton Knight. This really doesn't come up. Zeus is just better on all fronts, so making this is just not as worth. You can make this and then make a Zeus on top of it, but it just doesn't come up. At least it hasn't yet. Maybe I'll change my mind in the future, but as for now, it'd probably be that one. And lastly, the side deck.
How many of these do you get in a box?
Side deck 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, as well as 3 copies of Book of Moon. Cosmic is because the deck doesn't have any really good back row out. Pantera is a nice one, but you have to get to it, you have to summon it, and you have to reveal the attributes to use it. It's not that difficult, but it's not always available, so having one that's always available is pretty nice. Then we got 2 copies of Kurakara and the 1 Regulus. It's another fire target. This is also an earth target, so that's pretty cool. But fire target, and it's Kurakara, so why not? And for the last 7 cards, we have some purple cards. 3 copies of Devi Virus. This is very good versus Trap Tricks. As long as they're not playing the DPE package like some people around here, this should win. It should win the game.
Damn!
It doesn't hit Mirmello and it doesn't hit Dianea, which are the 2 that you really want to hit. But you can kind of deal with those ones after you get a look at the rest of their hand and snipe out all the other little monsters that they have. This also just gives you perfect hand knowledge for 3 turns, so you couldn't ask for anything better in a control deck. 3 copies of Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. This is for Kashtira and Branded. Branded does not have an out to this. Kashtira kind of just struggles through it. They have to go into an Arise Heart, or any Exceed really, but they can't use their Fenrir or their Unicorn or their Ogre or anything, so it stops them from getting their searches and pluses on their way to Arise Heart. And the last card, I never cited this in, but it is a very good card, the Trinity Burst. This one, you target a Vanquish Soul you control, summon up to 2 Vanquish Souls from your hand that neither have the same attribute as that monster, and both have different names, I believe. With different names from each other, and neither with the same attribute as the targeted monster. and then bounce all cards your opponent controls in the column of the targeted monster and the 2 monsters you summoned. So if you target 1 here and summon 2 here, you're going to bounce all cards in these 3 columns. And it doesn't target your opponent's cards or anything. It doesn't destroy, doesn't send. It's going to bounce them back to the hand. So this is a good way to out untargetables, a good way to out Mirror Jades and stuff like that, even Dragoons. But yeah, that's it for the deck.
All right, awesome, man. Yo, another night, man. You have any shout outs?
Of course, to give a shout out to Team NAS, always my home team. Shout out to Sally here at the Dragon's Lair for hosting these events.
For letting us stay a little late for the
Yes,
video.
sir. And a shout out to Isaac behind the camera here for Team Can't Read TCG. Thank you for having me on the channel.
Awesome, man. And obviously, you know how to read, so you keep topping like crazy, man. Well, good job, man, tonight, and you have a great night, all right?
All right, you as well.